What do you think, Link? You think it's a liver or a kidney? Oh, yeah. We're going to get into some things with this video. Before I get started here properly today, I just want to say a very special thank you to all of you out there who have made the launch of this channel so damn fulfilling. I can't get over the fact that I pretty much instantaneously gained 50 subscribers. They have videos, guys, out there for how to gain your first 50 subscribers, how to gain your first 100, and right out of the starting gate, I've hit 50. Once I hit 100 subscribers, I'm going to go ahead and give away a $25 PSN gift card as a thank you to all of you out there who have supported me and have joined and watched this channel. And do me a favor, if you like what you see here today, type a comment in the box below so that I know that I'm doing something right. Also, let me know what I can do better, what you'd like to see me cover, topics you're interested in, things that you don't want me to cover, if there are such things. If you could leave a like, subscribe, and then click that bell for all notifications, and make sure you select all notifications. That way, every time I go live every Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In my first video, I forgot to say that, and I had to add a little graphic. Woo! Today, we are going to stick with this theme of Ghost of Tsushima. I continue to fall more and more in love with it. If you haven't seen my first video, I'll put a link to that in the description down here below. But in that video, I talked about, in particular, all the small things that I love about the game, and really how that's a significant piece of what sets Ghost of Tsushima apart from other open world games. Today, I want to highlight 10 details that I love about Ghost of Tsushima. There are so many little things that Sucker Punch does right. So much time and effort they've placed into every layer and every small detail. Let's hop right on in here with number one. And this is a bit of an obvious one, but it's important nonetheless. The end suffering option. Essentially, for those of you that don't know, the end suffering feature is when you occasionally strike down an enemy and he's pretty much in his dying breath, he starts crawling away from you. They're not quite dead yet. So you walk up to him and you tap square and you just take up your sword and you just poke him with it. And of course, it's, as everything else related to combat in Ghost of Tsushima, is quite meaty. Camera there's a little, end suffering. You're trying to crawl away from me. Me and your buddy suffering. Yeah, it's visceral. It's fun. I think your controller does a little rumble when you stab him with it. It fits really well into the game. And essentially, it just adds a visceral and brutal cinematic flair to the proceedings here. Never gets old. I could do that for 100 hours straight. They could line up enemies crawling away from me. And for 100 hours, I would just walk up to them and just doop, next, doop, next, doop. Something that blew my mind when I realized it was kind of the dichotomy between how Jin kills his enemies versus the way that Mongols kill the residents of Tsushima. The Mongols take great pleasure in torturing the residents. When you see things like this, this is a screenshot that I took when I came across what's pretty clearly either a set of brothers and a sister or a family here, right outside of their village. They were tied up around this tree stump and then used as arrows. Target practice. This isn't uncommon. The Mongols really enjoy torturing the people in this game. Meanwhile, Jin, when an enemy is clearly dying, he's very quick to the proceedings because Jin, by extension, or by contrast rather, is not interested in the torturing and suffering of his enemies. And that thematically fits who Jin is and reveals his humanity, especially when you have that stark contrast between how the Mongols go about doing things and the way that Jin is this honorable and yet badass samurai. And I really like that. Number two is blood sheathing. I affectionately refer to this as blood sheathing because it essentially involves Jin getting the blood off of his katana before he puts it back in its sheath. The really nice cinematic flair that makes you feel like a badass swordsman, and that's half the fun. But not content with simply adding this feature to the game, Sucker Punch took it even a step further, even another level above, by coding in multiple animations for this. So not only can you sheath your weapon at will, you can, after you kill your enemies, blood sheath it in multiple different ways. Now, this is an amazing detail in its own right, and I love that Sucker Punch went above and beyond in how they implemented it. It's awesome. And like I said before, it just makes you feel like a samurai in this open world. Number 3 is unique blood spatter patterns. Man, I really dig violence, don't I?
Did you just see that effect that came off of his sword when he killed him?
I like dismemberment in my games.
I also, especially in shooters, whenever there's a body, I try to attack it, and I get annoyed sometimes when you can't. It's just fun to shoot stuff. Like in Fallout, you can keep shooting the body, and the arms will come off, and the legs will come off, and you can do funny things with them, like put the heads in baskets and things like that, or throw them at people. You're not familiar with games, and you're listening to me right now. You're absolutely horrified.
You know what? We're gonna go ahead and make this red. I feel like we need to make this red here with the lighting. It's a little bit better. Yeah, we're going to continue on that theme here of violence. While slaughtering my way across the island of Tsushima, I slowly but surely began to realize that not only were environmental patterns like mud and rain reflected differently on Jin depending on the circumstances and what he was doing, but I eventually picked up that the blood spatter patterns differed depending on the type of armor that he was wearing and the way in which he murdered the Mongols. Now, I'm not sure if Sucker Punch has coded this in to happen randomly or in real time, or if this is something where each piece of armor has a certain set pattern that can appear given X number of circumstances. Not really sure how they did it, but once I picked up on this tiny little subtle detail, it was yet one more feather in Sucker Punch's cap. That is attention to detail right there. Number 4 is minor side quest quality. All right, this one's probably a top 3 for me in the game. This is something that has significantly set it apart from many of the other open world games out there. Regardless of how small a side quests are in Ghost of Tsushima, the quality does not suffer in the slightest. Minor side quests are a revelation in this title. Seamlessly uplifting, smaller, more contained stories that would be garbage filler in almost any other open world game, save for your Red Dead Redemptions and Grand Theft Autos of the world, of course. How did Sucker Punch go about accomplishing this? By not half-assing anything. By putting in the hard work, determination, devotion to the smaller pieces of the game that practically taunted them to do so. This is where often other open world games lose me. When I come across an NPC in the wilderness somewhere, somebody standing on the shoreline and I need some, sorry, I meant gold. And it's very clearly, the voice acting suffers, everything suffers. It's just a throwaway thing. It's busy work to get you to get some kind of reward. But in Ghost of Tsushima, even the smallest side quests, the voice acting doesn't suffer, the writing doesn't suffer, the character animations don't suffer. All of it is still at or near the same level as the main quest and the major side quests that are within the game. An example I love that kind of shows this involves a person that I came across maybe 100 meters from their town. And the first thing I thought was, oh, great. Here's a throwaway character that I can go maybe get some, I don't know, pelts, maybe some crafting materials from. Something that I most likely wouldn't really desperately need. What I wasn't expecting was to be kicked directly in the feels. This story kicked my feels directly in the face with steel-toed boots on. This guy tells me that his family had been attacked by the Mongols and that he ran for his life. He left his wife and daughter or son, and he wanted me to go check it out. I was kind of in samurai gear, so yeah, he picked up that maybe I could handle business, and handle business I did. I told him to wait outside the outskirts of town, and I went and did this little kind of like Batman/Witcher detective mode, and found a pool of blood near a river and followed it out to this little inlet. And then right there, first thing that really got me right here, I found a toy that clearly belonged to a child with blood on it. At this point, Jin realizes that his family didn't make it. They were killed. Their bodies most likely washed downstream. And I had the joyful experience of going to tell this man that his wife and child were dead.
My lord, did you find them?
Your family was killed. I'm sorry.
I ran like a coward. I should be dead too.
It's not your fault. Don't let their deaths be in vain. Resist the invaders. Help those in need.
Yes, my lord.
My heart broke for this man. And I love that Jin gets down on his knees and shows this guy a ton of compassion. He clearly feels for this person. He clearly cares about the residents on this island. A lot of times other open world games tell you that you care about the residents, but they don't really do a great job of showing you that. It's just an excuse to get you to do meaningless quests. In this game, it's illustrated to you. As I walked away from that scene, he never moved from that spot. I can't remember the last time a minor side quest like this made me feel things this way. It was completely and wholly unexpected, and I continued to see side quests of this nature the same way. One other example that I'll play here very quickly is a good example of how these side quests also have the capability of subverting your expectations.
They took all. I have nothing left. I'm going to starve. I'm going to starve.
What happened?
Bandits, my lord. They took my food. Every last scrap.
Oh, the way she says every last scrap.
Do you see where they went?
Northeast, into the woods.
If I find them, they'll regret stealing from you.
Please don't harm them. They're just as desperate as I am.
Yeah, so about that. And yet, when I came back, this.
Lord, you're back.
I have your food.
Rice. I don't remember the last time I had rice.
You said they stole it from you. Lie to me.
Bandits don't deserve food at a time like this, my lord. Besides, I ask you not to hurt them.
So much more than just garbage filler side quest content, but actually meaningful and worthy to do just for the stories. Next up, we have the banter. Oh my God, the banter in this game is out of this world. The way in which characters speak to and interact with each other reveals a considerable depth that most other games fail to convey to the player. The emotion and again the writing displays these complex relationships and a deep appreciation for them. Even as a player who's only spent a few hours with these characters, it's like you never skipped a day. You never missed a beat.
Your form has improved.
And you managed to grow a beard.
I love the banter in this game so much.
When's the last time you slept or ate?
I had some rice and fish yesterday.
Even the youngest warrior needs a full belly and a rested sword arm.
Are you calling me old, Lord Sakai?
I wouldn't dare.
My sword arm works just fine.
Sucker Punch pulls it off flawlessly. Number 6 is bowing and spoken dialogue, and sticking with the theme of implementing things that don't have a direct gameplay impact but are really cool. I came across a set of samurai who had died, and I not long before realized that I could just kind of do a little samurai honor bow thing. Kind of like in Red Dead Redemption 2 when you can tip your cap to people and say hello. It's just a nice little touch. So I walked up to this fallen samurai and I'm thinking to myself, you know, it would make a ton of sense to be able to bow to these guys and have some kind of reaction. Did not expect it to actually happen. But when I did it, this.
You deserve greater respect than this. Rest, brother. The Mongols will pay for the agony you endured.
That is all world right there. I love the fact that he doesn't just say one thing. 3 Dead Samurai, 3 different lines of dialogue. Magnificent. Number 7 is the AI. Oh my God, is the AI in this game fantastic. I'm talking about legitimate AI that will save your life, and on more than one occasion.
Got one more archer here to take out. Let's take him out. I'm out of arrows. It's nice to have AI as well. An AI that actually works for you, that actually is useful. Can we talk about that for a moment?
It is so nice and so refreshing to see a game that has AI that doesn't drive you crazy or getting in your way or simply shooting at enemies but never killing them. Even when AI in games are okay, there's also the issue of immersion. Often AI will break immersion. The original Last of Us. You know, when they just run out in front of people and they're just blatantly there and visible and they're just kind of running and doing their thing. Are they really hurting you? No, but it takes you out of the experience when you're doing like a stealth mission and there's an enemy right there blatantly staring at your AI companion and doesn't break your stealth. None of that I've seen in this game is there. Your AI is extremely helpful. They will routinely kill people for you and, as I mentioned before, routinely save your life. AI has to be mentioned here. Helpful and never getting in your way. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, as we get to the tail end of this list, number 8 is the environmental storytelling. The environmental storytelling in this game is second to none. So typically in your open world games, you come across different scenes and everything just kind of looks samey. It just looks samey. And those are the same corpses that I saw in that same position, 40 clicks back. Not really seeing any of that at all. Here are 2 screenshots that I took of a couple that I came across in a house. Obviously, the Mongols had been here. And what I really like about this isn't just 2 corpses, right? This isn't just 2 corpses in a house that just sort of seemingly randomly placed there or placed there in the same way because let's reuse assets and, configurations to make things a little bit easier. No. Sucker Punch wants to tell a story even in the tiniest aspects of this game. Note the hand here by the person on top, clearly reaching out for what is likely a family member. That hand, seeing that hand placement and the emotion that it conveys where they were clearly reaching out for them at the end as they knew that their lives were ending. I mean, that really got me. Hit me right here. Further cemented my place and role in this game world and was just a fantastic little detail and subtle detail that's really easy to miss, especially if you're one of those gamers who just like to run around everywhere and not really take the time to look. Walk around. Don't always sprint. Take a look at your environment. You're going to find some pretty amazing things that Sucker Punch has put in the game. It's awesome, and it's always really cool. Number 9 is another one of those little details that I simply really appreciated. I didn't expect it. In the game, you can put together these haikus. They're like these little mats that you can find. A really neat mechanic. You get to choose one of 3 options for the first line of your haiku, and then once you select it, it changes to another landscape.
Today, Junior!
Another perspective of the landscape you were looking at. And then you can choose your second line in your haiku. And then again, it'll change a third time. You have 3 options once again, and you can choose your third line of dialogue. What I did not expect was this.
Basked in peace, we rest. Escaping higher, we climb. Flourishing and free.
I mean, come on. How cool is that? Not only do you get a choice of what haiku you compose, to have the voice actor for Jin actually verbalize that haiku is an incredible little detail and one that I appreciate greatly. Just awesome. Just simply awesome. And again, didn't have to be in the game. Wasn't something that's integral to the game, but is one of those smaller little subtle details. And finally, number 10, the expressions in this game are second to none. Seriously, the way that they're delivered is absolutely phenomenal.
Jin Sakai. They said no samurai escaped Komoda. My husband.
Lord Adachi died a warrior's death, defending our home.
Our home.
That lady right there lost everything. Typically, you find this level of emoting and this level of natural facial expressions in more focused linear games, although not all of them. Seriously, guys, I just finished the game Control, and the expressions in that game legitimately give me nightmares. Nightmare fuel.
Right. Well, okay, so here we go. Knives. Knife rain.
Slicing, stabbing, gouging. Sorry.
Uncanny Valley much? Seriously. You'd think in a more controlled, see what I did there? Fun! In a more controlled, smaller game, you would expect there to be greater degree of facial expressions. Because you don't have this huge open world you have to build, typically you can place a greater importance and put your animators onto those expressions. See this level of expression in an open world game, it's just not common. And as I mentioned before, the rock stars of the world, sure, but the vast majority of open world games do not have that level of expression. Seriously, that guy though, like Langston, the guy's name is Langston. Langston's the kind of guy you hesitantly become friends with to be nice. And then just randomly one night you wake up in the middle of the night and he's in the corner of your room watching you sleep, holding your liver, and maybe wearing your face. What do you think, Link? You think it's a liver or a kidney? Point is, the facial expressions in this game are amazing, and in a smaller game like Control, they are horrifying. And there you go, guys. That's 10 subtle details and things that I appreciate about Ghost of Tsushima that help elevate the game above many of its contemporaries and help separate it from the crop. You know, I feel like as I'm kind of looking through some of my notes here, that's not even like half my list. So yeah, we're going to have a part 2 coming. Definitely keep your eyes peeled for that one. But until then, if you like this content, do me a favor, click that like button, hit that subscribe, and then click all notifications. That's that little bell icon there. And that will allow you to stay up to date on whenever I release a new video or live stream again every Friday at 9:30 p.m. Thank you again so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Feel free to engage with me here or on my BauerKillz Instagram page, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.